Well, welcome everybody to the IEDC Engage session. And we're here this month to talk about what is the SBDC and who we are, to make sure that everybody understands what services we provide, why we're here, and how this whole situation happened. And a quick introduction. My name is Rob Shellstrand. I'm the Director of Business Development at IEDC and an SBDC business consultant. A lot of acronyms there, and we're all going to use them, but we'll define those a little bit more. So we'll move with Tony. Will you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, Tony Ward, I've been with the SBDC for about 5 years now. And prior to that in my career, I was the senior accountant and finance director for Grand Rapids Public Utilities for 10 years. And then I took over as the general manager of the public utilities for almost 30 years. So it was a very long career. My education, I have a Bachelor of Science degree in corporate finance. And when I left the Public Utilities Commission, I started my own company and became a contractor for the SBDC here in Grand Rapids.
Excellent. And thank you for being here with us. And Austin, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Austin Miller. I'm a business consultant for the SBDC and a community broadband consultant for the IDC. So a little bit of a mixed role. I've been with IDC for about a year and a half now. I graduated from UW Stout in May of 2020 with a Bachelor of Science in Business Administration and a few minors trickled in there. So this is kind of my first career out of the gate, and I have been very fortunate and excited to be working with the community in Itasca County and thereabout. So thank you.
And on to the newest member of our team, Corey Bolin.
Hello, everyone. Yeah, my name is Corey Bolin. I'm actually from Duluth, Minnesota. I went to school here. I got my bachelor's in business administration with a concentration in marketing. After that, I worked for Coca-Cola as a marketing representative. I worked for Viking Coca-Cola in account management. After that, then I worked for Walmart and I did grocery operations management and also e-commerce management there. And then most recently, I graduated with my master's in business administration from Bellevue University. And after that, I have been with SBDC and IEDC for 9 weeks now. So yes, glad to be a part of the team.
And don't let the Duluth comment fool you. He will be moving to Itasca County, so he will be a resident here with us shortly.
Yes, shortly. I'm looking forward to that too.
So on to, as we talked about, we're going to define a little bit, what is the SBDC? So the SBDC is really the Small Business Development Center, which is a federal program under the Small Business Administration. This was developed back in 1980s. And as a part of helping through after the big recession that happened at that time and getting support to businesses where needed, as we'll look at the last bullet here, at no cost to you as a business owner. Couple things that seem to be really, people need to understand is what does the Small Business Administration define a small business as? And that's anybody that has less than 500 employees as an entire business. So most everybody in our area fits into that category. So we're willing to help wherever we can provide support. Our regional office for Northeast Minnesota is actually out of Duluth and is hosted by the Northland Foundation, who administers our website through Northland SBDC. They administer trainings, the budget, the administrative side, the tracking tools that happen for us. And then we have the satellite office that I would call here the boots on the ground in Itasca County at IEDC, right here out of Grand Rapids. The funding, when we say it's at no cost to you, we get that question a lot of how does this happen? So we do have some federal funding through that SBDC support through that piece, state funding, local funding through some of our partners that we'll see here in just a minute through Itasca County, Blandin Foundation, and then a lot of private funders, which we'll also show you here in a moment and thank them. As we look at this, all of these organizations that we have listed on the screen are a partner with IEDC to help us provide this service into our communities. It's been a long-standing relationship that we want to see continue, and we want to make sure that we know that everybody knows that it is available to all of you. So thank you again to all of our partners for being a big piece of why we're here and why we're able to do our work. A couple of quick notes, just some ideas on what has the SBDC really been doing. So one of our key things that we have found is more people are finding us over the last couple of years than in the past. In a normal year, you get to be a brand new client one time in your lifetime. Just once you sign up, you are there. It's kind of like going to the doctor. You're a new patient once. So we're coming in, normally on average, we were running somewhere in that 20 to 25 clients a year. Last year in 2020, Tony and I can speak to this pretty well. We had 61 actual registered clients plus another 99 that we didn't register, just that needed some support and had to keep moving. This year, for the first half of the year, we're already at 49. Plus, we've already had numbers for July, so we have already pushed ourselves close to that 61 for into 2021 already. What this means in a registered business or a registered client is, we'll talk about that at the very end of this presentation, but that means that we do register for services, which includes a confidentiality agreement, making sure that all of your information is completely confidential, share only with you, not administered up to the state or federal government. It is housed here at our office to allow us to support your business. With that, we also track our time to help report back to our funders, that screen that we just shared, all the things that we are doing in the county. So we aggregate our information of how many hours, how many clients like this we've worked with, giving them a feedback into what kind of support for the community are they actually helping us take care of. We do track that in a database that is a state-owned database. However, we control the information that goes into that, and making sure that we are marking milestones for each business and ensuring that we're tracking when it's time to reach back out, where we're at, so that if you do talk to, for instance, myself at this time and 6 months later, you need support again on another decision, we have a background to go to for Corey, Austin, Tony to jump in at any time and know where we're at with that client to make sure that we're not losing traction with you. And our services, the services that we provide, I'm going to hand this over to Corey to talk a little bit more about what it is that we do here in the office.
Yeah, so with our services that we provide, we have several clients in different stages of where they're at in their business. Either startup, they want to purchase one, or they just want to refine some of their efficiencies within their operations. So a few of those services that we provide are access to capital assistance. This is more gearing towards that kind of startup and looking to start that business, and what is it going to cost to start that. Financial analysis and assessment. So what does the total financial picture look like? Accounting systems and literacy. Market research, which we have a relationship with the university and a number of databases that we can kind of pull and then make a more comprehensive picture for your business plan when we're creating something like that. Marketing, plan development. We also have a number of resources within our office, including myself, Austin, and Kayla, which we're all pretty well versed in the marketing plan development. Next, we have the feasibility analysis, startup assistance, business plan development, and then the last two being the electronic commerce and website review, and succession and strategic planning, which a few of these will cover more in depth throughout this presentation. So first, the business plan. This business plan can be divided into these 6 sections that we have present on the screen. But this business plan, I would say, is primarily for individuals looking to start a business where they haven't really thought of maybe the full scope as to what goes into a business and the components needed in a successful operation, or also someone looking to purchase an existing business. These sections are the executive summary. So this is really a description of the business, the market it's operating in, and the total operations. So we also want to look at then profitability. What are we requesting in terms of any financing needed? And then the timetable, what deliverables do we need to deliver to that client, and in what time in order to get this process started? So we can also go more into the business, which is the industry in which they're operating in. What does your company look like? And then what products are you going to sell, or what services are you going to provide? We next look at the market. This portion is something that we will provide to the client. This is often our research that we gather. This can be described as the industry trends. What are the current customers for this company, the competitors that are existing within that industry, and what kind of strategies are we going to implement as either a startup or an existing business. Next, we have the operations. What does the total operations look like? What's the ownership look like in this operation? And also personnel. So how many people are in this business, and what is their role, again, to have an efficient operations. We also want to look at some suppliers and support professionals for that operation as well. And then we have the last two as technology with website and internet, hardware and software, and then also some e-commerce presence. And then lastly, the financials. Financials I'll touch on the next slide, but this can also be described as historical analysis. We have some financial projections, some sales projections, and then the feasibility of the operation that we're looking at. So again, this business plan really helps us to identify what the client's primary goal is in operating the business, and how each section is going to support the operations in a total comprehensive picture. Because a lot of these sections, it's complementary of each other. And so when we're going about filling this business plan out, we want to be very consistent throughout it, and we want to make sure that objective in creating a business or owning a business is transparent throughout the entirety of the business plan.
Excellent.
And this leads us into a financial analysis. So with this financial analysis, I kind of like to describe it as the utilization of these financial statements, such as income statement and balance sheet, to make informed decisions. So again, whether you're a startup or an existing business, we use several different financial analysis to kind of paint a better picture for that client to understand it. In doing so, we tend to do financial projections analysis. And a financial projection is looking at the current state of either the company itself and projecting into the future. So if there was a transfer of ownership, what does that look like for you? How feasible is it? And also on a startup side is looking at the projections of what do we need, what is that cost going to be, and how is it going to affect us in the future. Another financial analysis tool that we use is a historical analysis. So what has the financials looked like previously? What can we use from that to help with future projections? And what's like the current overall health of that company, just relating to its financial strengths. The last two on there are cash flow analysis and startup analysis. So those go hand in hand. Is when we're looking at a startup analysis, we don't have any historical data to analyze. So we want to create the closest picture as to what that business is going to be, what's needed to operate it, and what are we going to be able to provide in order for you to see again, that comprehensive picture of financials. From this, we want to make sure that we're providing the correct information to the client. So, and oftentimes we're going to request this information to be provided to us. And in doing so, we're also going to take the time to review the financials with you and make sure that you understand it from the financial projection side, from a historical analysis side, and then again, what financials are needed in order to make these informed decisions. And then on the right hand of our slide, we have this little image of these ratios. So this is kind of like a scorecard or a snapshot of several financial ratios that we're going to use in our decision-making process. So being able to understand the significance of all these ratios and what that would provide, this is also something that is included in our initial financial analysis. And being able to understand this, we can see year over year what is our strengths and maybe what is our weakness, and how we're going to tackle that, either strength or weakness, use it to our advantage, or look at it in reducing our disadvantages.
Thank you, Corey. Austin, will you tell us a little bit more about what happens at the very beginning of a business and starting up?
Sure. Thanks, Corey, for that. And a lot of what he talked about will be followed up after we talk about starting up your business. So this is typically during our initial meeting or discussion and meeting with our clients. It's getting down to the gritty part of discussing your general business idea. What do you want to do? What's your dream, essentially? Then we kind of get into the entity selection. As you can see on the table here, there's a whole array of different entities. A typical one that we see a lot are LLCs or sole proprietorships for small businesses. So after we help decide or the client chooses what they want to pursue as an entity, we try to narrow down location if needed. We discuss their needs, their goals, anything that we can help them with in terms of resource connections. So as Corey showed in the first couple slides, what does the financing look like? How can we help connect to lenders? If there's any other resources that we can connect our clients to and help them in any way to help start up, we certainly do that. So this is really ideal and necessary to get this out of the way to really find what we need to do in order to help start that business. And as Corey mentioned as well, we do offer assistance with marketing. So typically we keep it in office, but we have partners working with the University of Minnesota Duluth, and we are able to obtain research about the industry and the market to really help us summarize what our needs and wants are in the area. So with that being said, we can help analyze the demographics and industry within a certain section, a certain radius of mileage, depending on where the business is located. In addition to that, determining the best marketing strategies, word of mouth, social media, putting ads in newspapers. It really varies from business to business and how they have done it before and what their reputation is. We also help with identifying competitors, seeing what they do, how they're doing sales-wise. I mean, how are you going to compete with them? How are you going to do things better? What are they doing that's working? The whole 9 yards of that. A big thing today that we have seen a big uptick in the past 10, 15 years is utilizing, Google, social media, the internet to expand and market your business. When you type in Google, anything you want, I mean, say in grocery stores near me, that whole little Google My Business page, you see their hours, their website, their location, all that good stuff. And that's really important nowadays because everyone's trying to see the quickest way to contact that store or business. And social media especially, that creates that engagement, especially as you see a few bullet points down, that organic engagement, just keeping up with your community and posting what you're doing, how things are going, creating that bond between you and your customers is important now as it has ever been. In addition, we help and encourage our clients to network within the local community by joining organizations that support each other as business owners. So getting together, if your community has a downtown business association, or if there's any other groups that you can think of joining, I mean, getting together and bouncing ideas off of each other, how things are going within the community, what you can change and strategize to do next is very important. And lastly, is creating a lasting relationship with the community and customers, creating that personable look that your business can really stand out and create that engagement organically, online, in person, and all the above. So marketing is underrated, especially when starting a small business.
Excellent. Thank you, Austin. And I know one of the biggest questions that we always have to answer is your idea a good idea?
Right.
So we're going to have Tony talk to us a little bit about the feasibility of a business and what we help clients learn.
Well, basically, when we meet with a client, and I'm going to talk about the startups, you have the situation where somebody wants to buy a business. They either have the financing in hand or they don't have the financing in hand, and they want us to help them get the financing. Or the other situation is they want to start up a new business from the ground up. And again, they either have the financing to do it or they don't have the financing to do it. And they want us again to help them get that financing put together. like the slide said, our job is to assist the client in making a well thought out decision as to whether or not to proceed with his or her business proposal. We don't make that decision for the client. Hopefully after our work, that client can reach that conclusion on their own. When we start in one of our initial conversations with the client, we try to assess their business acumen. We try to get a feel for what their business proposal is, and do they understand what it's going to take to operate that business and to be successful in the operation of that business from all the aspects, from the financial aspects, the accounting aspects, the legal aspects, the administration, the risk assessment, the marketing, and the competitiveness. And it's just a general conversation with that client. And you can really kind of draw out what the strengths of that client are and where their weaknesses are at this point. The other thing that I do with the client then is, and they've already talked about this to quite an extent, is I take the business plan, the long form business plan that we have, and it's designed to address people that are in manufacturing, in the service industry, in the retail industry. And I walk through that business plan with them. And remarkably, I think at the end of every time that I've done that, people said, oh, I didn't know this, or I learned this, or I have to think about this a little bit more. So we walk through the business plan and just have a discussion with our clients. And hopefully they're thinking, how am I going to address this? And we make them address those things as we have that discussion. And then, as it was previously discussed, we'll get a little bit into the financial analysis with them, get a feel for, do they understand financing? Do they understand accounting and those type of things that go along with operating a business? And then talk about them putting together a cash flow. Where is your money coming from? Where is your money going to? Do you have enough cash flow to start the business on day one? And then take a look at projecting those out over 2 or 3 years and substantiating those projections. You can't say, for example, well, I'm going to sell $1 million in widgets this year. Well, okay, if you are, you have to substantiate that to us as consultants, and we'll help you with those substantiations so that your projections are realistic. And if you're going to get a loan, it's something that the banker will believe in. So once we have that discussion probably takes a couple hours on average. We send that business plan home with the client and have him start filling in the narrative. We'll also send along the templates for the financial projections and the cash flow like we discussed earlier. And as they're going through that, they're in contact with us and we're reviewing their work and going back and forth on it. And eventually they'll either decide, this is for me, I'm going to be a business person, I'm going to start a business, or they'll say, I don't have what it takes to be the entrepreneur that I thought I was, and they'll go off in another direction. So hopefully by going through this process, we've helped them make a good logical decision for themselves.
Thank you, Tony. So we've spent a lot of time talking about the beginning of a business or what happens at the very beginning. The other end of the whole spectrum of what we do is succession planning. So what happens if you're a small business owner and you've been doing this for 30 years? What happens when you're ready to be done? Are you ready to just shut the doors, sell the building? Do we want to keep that business going? Do you have employees? How does that transition happen? That's another service that we definitely like to help clients walk through, and something that we know is going to be happening in our area quite a bit. So we want to make sure that we help with the idea behind the valuation of the business, internal and external resources that we have for that. We have different tools and metrics that we can use. We do have external resources that are some paid resources that we refer clients to if there's a true valuation on a market analysis needed. We also look at what is happening in that transition. Who will be buying your business? Is this going to be moving to the next generation of your family? Are you looking to outright sell it to a new owner? And those have different things that happen with them, and depending on what the structure was at the beginning and where you're at today. I know one question that we have quite often is that next line when I said, when should you start thinking of the transition of your business? And it is fair to say you should think about selling your business the day you open it, as to what are you building as an asset here? Is that really the goal of your business? But at a minimum, we want to say 5 to 10 years prior to selling your business in any fashion, no matter what the business is when you want to really start thinking about it, making sure reporting is up to speed, making sure everything is happening in the business the way that it should, so that it's the most efficient it can be at that time, so that we can truly make an educated decision on evaluation, know what you're looking for, and give it time to find that right next owner or that right buyer to make the changes they need and to have a smooth transition. Now, we will work with clients if they look to say, there's been extenuating circumstances and I need to sell my business by the end of the summer. We will work with that. We will definitely try to walk through everything we can. It's a much shorter time frame, but we'll definitely walk through anything in that area we can. We'll discuss legal considerations, and as needed, we'll bring in attorneys as reference. Those outside resources the clients do have to pay for many times. But we also help evaluate what the value is to each of these things. Is there tax considerations? Is there capital gains going to be involved? What's happening for you personally? Because we truly understand most business owners that are out there, that business that they are running is truly an asset that they've been building and is part of their retirement picture. That's what they're looking to do with it. That's what we want to make sure that they have the best opportunity and the best timing they can figure out to make that all happen. So that's another piece that we'll be building more into here with IEDC and working through with more clients as we go forward. But we'd definitely love to talk to anybody that's looking at that so that we can help maintain that business as you're looking to move on. So that is really the end of our presentation about what it is that we do. So then we want to talk about how do you get a hold of us. So quickly here on the presentation, you have our homepage with IEDC. Looking at our website at itascadv.org. You can click on the SBDC that's circled up in the right-hand corner and go into that spot. Click on that and it'll open up the registration screen below into the Neosera database that we use, and you're referencing yourself as a client there. Name and address, what kind of business you're thinking of starting, do you have any history? We're not collecting any real pertinent sensitive data there. We don't collect social security numbers. We collect an email address and a phone number. We do not sell email lists or phone lists. Those are purely for us to be able to contact you once you've completed that registration. So this is usually the very first step. Filling out this application in a sense, or filling out this registration document so that we know who it is we're contacting, where you're located, and we'll reach out to you within a day or two of getting this completed. As soon as you'll see an email from us that says the registration's been complete, and then we'll be following that up with a phone call very shortly. We also understand sometimes people still want to know, what exactly am I getting into? They want to understand what's happening. So I'll put up here also, we're very willing to just talk to a business owner or a potential business owner, have that initial discussion one-on-one, understand what it is we'd be looking to help them with, what areas can we help, and we'll walk through that at any time. So feel free to reach out to us, shoot us an email, give us a phone call. We'd be happy to do that through the registration as well. So thank you for listening today, and hopefully we generated some questions, and we'd be very happy to talk to you and answer them. So thank you.
Hey, Rob, can you give me any idea of when a client signs up to get your assistance, how long is the process from start to finish approximately? I suppose it's different for everybody, but is there an average?
That is you're absolutely right. It's different for everybody. And really the best way that I can put it is we do our best to work at the speed of the client. So if the client has a 3-month window that they want to be open, we will work within that. If they have 2 years, we'll work within that 2 years. If you've already bought in your building and you're opening your doors next week, there might be an all hands on deck type of situation to help figure out what's going on if there's something that we can help support at that time. But typically I would say to get through writing a business plan, that step itself typically takes 4 to 6 weeks for most clients to complete that. So if you think of a section of that business plan and they tackle one a week, going back and forth with a consultant, because at the same time that business owner is probably working a full-time job, they're setting up what they might need for inventories, they're working with their banker as well, because we're also working on finances and we're working on everything. So there's many different aspects to how long it may take, but we try to move at their speed. So sometimes it's warp speed, sometimes it's a little more realistic. We'll see.
And Tony, I heard you say you gave people some homework and then they decided whether this was something that they wanted to even go on and do or not. How often does that happen that you have clients say, hey, this just isn't for me?
Boy, that's a difficult question. To put it into percentages, there are a number of them that get to that point and say that this isn't for me. I think our business start ratio, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, is probably somewhere around 25% of the people that come to us to start a business from scratch actually go into the business. That might be a little on the high side. One thing that I wanted to mention, as long as we're talking about that, is we do have, all of the consultants have access to a program that say you don't understand businesses that well, but you want to get into business. We have a program and a test that clients can take to start a franchise business. And it's basically, a franchise is they're going to give you everything you need to run that business, from how the building's supposed to be, to the insurances you need, to the products that you need. And that service is at no cost. And any one of our consultants now have access to what they call the business evaluation and sustainability test. And it looks at an individual's values, their motives, their competencies, their work style, and those type of things. And then it actually matches you with a franchise that you're going to be successful with based on what you want out of your business. So you do have that other opportunity if you don't have a business idea, so to speak, and we're more than happy to help clients go through that process.
So it's kind of like Innovate 218's ILT Academy. You go there with an idea, they help iterate it down to see if it's something that could go or not.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So just touching back on what you just said, Tony, this will be my last question, I promise. So has anybody ever done a study on like the data around here on what businesses this area would need? And then we seek out people for that? Kind of like the opposite?
I can jump in on that with you, Amanda. And from a giant, call it the 10,000 foot view, we have recently, as IEDC, completed a cluster analysis for all of Itasca County, which helped bring in the idea of what do we need across our entire community from all different areas. And that could include housing, restaurants, hotels, into all the different sectors of manufacturing and industry, supply chain, everything that we may need from a retail perspective as well. So that has been out there. It is part of the market research that we use with somebody and their idea. We can definitely utilize that once we have all the fine details of that completed, because I believe that was just delivered about a month ago to us. And that was a 1.5 year long study that it took to get that all completed. And that's kind of an ever moving, changing demographic. As one fills in, now there's another support function that may be needed. But definitely, you want to maintain and match, like Tony said, with the franchise. You want to keep people, if they're going to be a business owner, keep them in where their passion lies. Are they going to be happy within that business? And that's going to make it more successful than somebody that's just trying to fill a need, but may not have the desire really to be in that sector. So we want to make sure that we're keeping to where they really want to be as well.
That makes sense. You don't want somebody coming in going, I like making soaps. And then you say, well, we don't need soap. We need somebody to build houses.
Yeah, we'll take the soap too, but it's definitely, yeah,
Well,
that's
thanks, you
part of.
guys. This was all good information.
Thank you.
Mhm.